Hi, my name is Jim Gibson. Thank you for joining me today on this channel. I do appreciate it. This channel is basically about politics, and in particular K-12 politics. And we talk about all the different issues in the public school system, private school system, different issues in education for K-12. I want to start out with this statement. I am for school choice. And, a lot of people get offended instantly. Oh, he's for school choice. This is a kind of a bad thing. No, it's a good thing. Parents should have the right to choose for their children, and there should be choice. Choice is a good thing. And when you have choice, it adds competition, and competition is a good thing. It makes everyone better. But let me give you a little bit about my background. I grew up in the Philadelphia school system, and after 10th grade, I knew all along, I was illiterate. I couldn't read. I couldn't read the front of a newspaper. I couldn't read anything. So I decided at that point that if I was going to learn how to read, it was going to be, I would have to do it myself. I would have to teach myself how to read. Here I am in 10th grade. I kind of used to joke with people. I had an agreement with the school system. As long as I showed up, they'd push me on to the next grade there in Philadelphia school system. And I got pushed on. And a lot of the classrooms, all we talked about was the politics of the Vietnam War, and most of it was, anti-war type of stuff, and it was boring. It was tedious to do it day after day. But I taught myself how to read at the end of 10th grade. As I think I already said, I had a New Testament, and I wanted to read it, and it was for kids, little kids, so I would take this New Testament and I would read as much as I could, and in there, the ands and the buts and the ifs and everything else, I already knew all those simple words, but I didn't know anything else that was probably longer than 4 letters. So I taught myself how to read, and as I was reading, I also learned phonics. I taught myself phonics. I realized there were certain principles there, the way the words were sounding, and I would ask adults to sound out words for me, and I would ask adults to give me the definition of this word and things like that. After 10th grade, my scores went like this. They were fantastic. And class got easy. I actually started doing homework. It was amazing. It just changed my life. And after 2 years, 11th and 12th grade, I applied to college, got accepted, and I went through college, and I finished college and got a degree, a 4-year degree. And after that, I went and got my master's degree in business administration. I joined the United States Marine Corps. I became a captain in the United States Marine Corps. Learned a lot in the Marine Corps. Wow, there's really a lot to learn there, and it's a fantastic organization. After that, I started my own business, and it was a high-tech business, voice and data networking, and it gradually turned into a cybersecurity business, which I do today. I had a lot of employees, and I learned how to run a business and realized that I'm signing the front of the check now. Things are a lot different than when you're just signing the back of the check. But this all leads up to my kids. So when I sent my kids off to the local public school system, I wanted to make sure that they were learning how to read and write, that that the school system was focused on basics, that it was focused on not on whole language. At that point, it was whole language. I wanted phonetics. I wanted my kids to learn phonetics. I wanted them to be as independent as possible. I became independent when I learned how to read. I could teach myself now. I could pick up a book. I don't like fiction. I read nonfiction all the time. I read manuals. I learn technical manuals. I get certifications in technical fields, in IT, in cybersecurity. I have a lot of certifications, a lot of books. But the thing is I became independent when I knew how to read. I could do these things. And so when my kids stopped getting spelling lists, that concerned me. So when it was a parent-teacher time, I went to the teacher, and I always treat everyone with respect, so I wasn't disrespectful to teachers. I have great respect for teachers. So when I talked to her, I said, ma'am, I noticed my son is not coming home with spelling tests anymore, or spelling lists anymore, or grammar history, or homework. And she said, yeah, that's true. We don't do that anymore. He'll learn the rest on his own. And as I talked to her, I realized that they were not going to teach it anymore. And I asked her if I could possibly pick up where they left off. If she could give me a copy of all the lists for the next couple months that bring me to the end of the school year, or does she have a book that I could buy, that I could pick up where she left? And she said no. And she said, and you shouldn't do it either because it would put your son ahead of everyone else. Well, I'm concerned about everyone, but I'm particularly concerned about my son and my children as a parent. And that's what you should always put first, is your children. You are the parent. You are the ones that decide these things in education, and not the professionals. So I got kind of concerned about that, and I decided, this is unacceptable. I got to teach. I got to make sure my children are educated so they can go out into the world, they can get a job, they can have a comfortable life. This is a wonderful country we're in. You can just about do anything you want, but you got to be able to read, and you got to have a strong background in English language and math and science to be able to be successful in this country. So I decided I'm going to have to take action. And one of the things my wife and I decided was that we joined a group of parents who were homeschooling. And we started doing that. And the parents were the ones that taught the kids. And it was really cool because you find out that the parents, a lot of them, most of them, have expertise in different areas. We had a person who was pretty high in the banking system, and he taught math. And we had another one that did this, and another one that had a specialty in science, and that person taught science. But what happened is, at the end of the year, when you have to take that test, the kids have to take that state test. It's required in California. They jumped like 3 or 4 grades in 1 year. It was great. My kids are learning here. So I had a quasi-homeschool type of thing where, the parents would take turns teaching different subjects and all, and then at the end of the day, and the day would end, midday or something, then it was our responsibility as parents to continue on that subject matter, and it was done nice. It was professional. They did a really good job. But one of the things I learned is that I needed that choice. My kids did fantastic. Oh, by the way, 2 of them went on to college, finished in 3 years, their degrees, and went to really nice colleges, substantial colleges, cost a lot of money. But they finished their degrees in 3 years. They excelled, and they excelled in life. All my kids have done fantastic in life. They're doing great in life. So the bottom line is on all this is that I made sure my kids got a basic education. So I decided, I was concerned about my school system, even though my kids were not in it anymore. So I decided to run. And as soon as I decided to run for school board, become a school board trustee, there's 5 of them, generally speaking, not always, but in the Vista Unified School District, there was 5 trustees, and they're the ones that make all the decisions concerning the Vista Unified School District school system. So I decided I would run for that school system. And as I decided that, it became public knowledge that my kids were not in the public school system. And so, people would say, well, why, you shouldn't even be running for a public school system if your kids aren't in it. And my answer had always been, this school system is not good enough for my kids, and it's not good enough for yours. And I'm going to do everything I possibly can to make it to the point to where it's good enough for mine, and I will return my kids to the public school system, and then it's going to be good enough for yours. So I was concerned about my public school system. Hey, I'm paying taxes. I want those taxes to go to serious education. I want those taxes to be used to educate the children in my community. So I was concerned. I came in number one, by the way, even though I had the teachers union outspend me, big time outspend me, and worked really hard so I wouldn't get on the board. The other 4 people on the board, generally speaking, were there because the union took care of their campaign and paid all the, bought all the signs, put all the signs up. These people don't do anything. They don't even know how to campaign. It had to be the union to campaign for them, but they were on the board. And they did exactly what the teachers union told them to do. Now, teachers union is only concerned about one thing. It's not about your kids. They're only concerned about dues. Well over $1,000 per teacher. We have 1,200 teachers, so you can see the money. $300 million a year goes to the California Teachers Association, and all of it is spent on politics, except for the money that goes to the CEO of the system, the president, or whatever you want to call those people up there, and the big board and all. They get they're really well compensated, but everyone else isn't, and that's all they care about. They don't care about your kids. Anyway, I'm off track. So I am for school choice, and I'm also for the fact that the money should go with the parent in school choice. And I hear, especially the union just about goes crazy on that because they just see, parents leaving and going to private school, homeschooling, charter schools, things like that, and taking with them the money that's spent that normally would go to the California Teachers Association through union dues. But let's talk about each of those things. First of all, you already heard about homeschooling. It worked out fantastic. Homeschooling worked out great for me. Wish it could work out great for everybody. I wish everybody had that choice and that ability. Not everyone does have that ability. People have to work. So not everyone has that ability. But it worked out great for me, and it worked out great for my family. Now, the second one is private school. Private school does well. But you got to pick the private school. You got to make sure that it meets your needs for your child. And you know something? Parents and children have different desires, different goals, things like that. So they pick the private school that suits their needs. And then, of course, you have charter schools. And let's talk a little bit about charter schools. Charter schools are public schools, but they're exempt from a lot of the silly rules that you find that other teachers are under. How many, they can't work past a certain hour each day, things like that. They can't put in extra effort here. Good teachers are not rewarded, and bad teachers are not asked to leave. So they have a lot of the rules. But the big issue with the union is that most charter school teachers don't pay union dues. And the CEO of a charter school can actually decide who gets bonuses and who's taken care of, and that way, and who needs to go find another job because they're underperformers. And look, we're here for the kids, man. That's a primary thing. Are the kids learning how to read, write, math, science, real science, and serious math, and along with the other basics, the focus, things like that. So charter schools tend to do better than public schools, just general public schools. But I notice a thing that, like with private schools cost half the price of what it costs to put a kid in public school, but they're twice as efficient. I've heard that phrase before. Anytime you have a private organization that can do something that's done in public, they're usually, by a public organization, they're usually twice as efficient and half the price. So I don't want to see public schools turn into what I see the DMV is, mindlessness type of thing there. And it can in some situations. So I'm 100% for charter schools. In fact, so much 100% for charter schools that I pushed for them while I was on the Vista Unified School District for 20 years. I pushed for them to the point that I got extreme pushback from the union supporters. They don't like charter schools. It makes other teachers look bad. Some teachers should look bad because they're not performing. Others should be bonused because they are performing. But You can't. They won't let you bonus the good teachers. But anyway, I was always for charter schools, and it got such a big controversy here that it was written in the paper. It became a big issue here, and I've always pushed for it, and I pushed for it for every single year. Right before I left the school board, I would say, I decided 20 years was enough. I needed to move on. I needed to concentrate more on my business. I needed to concentrate more on life, things like that, just other things. So I decided after 20 years not to run anymore. And, of course, I didn't run, and therefore I'm not on the board anymore. But the interesting thing was, I would say 2 or 3 months before I was no longer, I decided not to run. I wasn't going to be on the board anymore. They started talking about their charter schools that were under the preview of our school district. Now, charter schools just don't do things on their own. Again, they're public schools, so there's oversight, and they have their own boards, and then the sponsoring public school system oversees the charter schools that receive the charter from that school system. And we had a couple charter schools, and they were pretty good. No problem at all with them. The kids are learning, the parents are happy. All of a sudden, the new school board members and the new superintendent wanted to end the charter schools. Now, they didn't say, well, we want to end the charter schools. What they said was, well, this fence is only half as high as it needs to be around this school, and the fence needs to be higher. And this needs to be better, and it's close to a busy highway, this school, and the school doesn't built the same way our schools are built. So I asked the other trustees, I said, do you realize that the requirements that you're putting on these charter schools, which are doing a great job, parents are happy, kids are learning and everything else, you can't do that. It's not according to the education code, the California Education Code. I said, so some of these things where you're starting to pull their charter, you have no grounds to pull their charter. You have absolutely no reason why you could pull these charters from these schools. And I said, now, you have read the education code. Now, I must have caught them off balance because they told the truth. They all looked at me, big eyes, and I said, have you ever read the education code, even the section that deals with charter schools? And they said, no. And I thought, oh, a moment of honesty. So I looked at the superintendent and I said to her, have you read the ed code? And she said, no. And how in the world do you get a PhD, ED, in the state of California, and you've never read the ed code, the educational code? How can you be on this board and you never read the education code? How can you be a superintendent of a public institution and never read the education code? I said, you guys are in violation of the education code by demanding that these charter schools follow your rules, when the very idea of a charter school is that they make their own rules up within the system. So to make a long story short, they pulled the charter from numerous charter schools that were under our preview. And of course the charter schools just went to another school system who approved their charter. So anyway, make a long story short, I am for school choice. If you have choice, it increases competition. It makes the public school system better, because if you're not better as a parent, I can put my kid in that charter school. If you're not better as a parent, I can put my kid in private school. And therefore, I am also for vouchers. You can call them anything you want. That almost has a bad connotation these days. It's been so beat up. But the idea is that you should have the right to have the school choice, and you should at the same time have the right to take your portion of that tax money and apply it to your school or your program that's teaching your kids. There's nothing in the Constitution that says that you can't do that. There's nothing in the Constitution, nor is there anything in the Constitution that says that you have to educate your kids in a public school system. It just says that that the Constitution in California, it just says that that the state is responsible to educate or to provide education for your children. So anyway, it's a long video. Sorry it's so long. I just want to make sure you understand that. I'm running for State Superintendent of Public Instruction. The guy that's been up there, this is the second term. I don't see any improvement in public education. You want that to continue that way? I don't know. It's been that way for 50 years, ever since the teachers union took over the schools. They don't want any changes. They're happy. They collect the dues. $300 million a year is a pretty good deal, man. Why would they want to rock the boat? Well, I'm here to rock the boat. So if you liked me, I'm into rocking boats. And I thank you for watching my video today. I hope you watch the other videos and tell your friends. Forward these videos to people. I'm sure I'll hear from the teachers union. Anyway, that's for another video. But send it around. Without your help, I don't win. And I don't get past the primary. And therefore, you're going to get the same old, the same stuff you've always gotten, which is not something that's for your children or in your education. And I want to thank you for watching. Thumbs up, please. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and see you on the next video.